Some news from across the NBA circles, by the way. It looks like the NBA has set August 25th for the lottery. October 15th will be the draft. That's a Thursday night. They'll be up against a Pat Mahomes Kansas City Chiefs Thursday night football game. The NBA informed the Board of Governors that training camp will be June 30th, July 7th, travel to Orlando. The season will begin July 31st. Free agency will begin on October the 18th, which is the day after the NBA, or the couple days after the NBA Finals. And then they will target a November 10th training camp, and December 1st would be opening night. That is a fluid date. So it looks like the NBA season for next year now has a date as well. Darryl Reynolds, the Process Podcast, former member of the Villanova Wildcats, won a national championship with the Cats in 2016. We're going to be talking hoops with him as it looks like the NBA is back, and 22 teams will be a part of the party in Orlando. Darryl, welcome back, man. What's happening?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
It all feels like the basketball season coming back finally gives us something to kind of look forward to here. Do you approve of the way they kind of did this? The 22 teams, they're going to play 8 games. They're going to keep the 2 conferences. Do you like what the NBA decided on?
Yeah, I like it. Me and Hunter have talked about this a lot of times. They came back and they changed up a few things. I'm not saying like everything they changed, or they changed up a few things like how the playoffs will play out and the series numbers and stuff like that. It'll be interesting. Things are kind of upside down right now, and I think it's for the better. So I'm kind of with them, just switching up a bit.
Yeah, and it sounds like we're going to get a traditional best-of-7 series, and we kind of touched on it a little bit last week. You're playing these neutral site games, but what about the idea that some people have suggested, Darryl, that they might try to work in some home court advantage things like an extra foul or an extra challenge or things like that? Is that something that you think that they should do for the higher seeds, or is that too gimmicky?
Yeah, that's a little too gimmicky. That's what I was alluding to, and I said certain things I'm not for them switching up. But like I said, it's time for a change, and I got a feeling those rules didn't just come out of nowhere. They were probably something that they were looking to experiment with for a while now, and then when this happened, it's just like, all right, it's perfect. You know what I mean? If you're going to do it now.
All right, Darryl, when you look at the possibilities here, I want to ask you this. The Sixers are the 6th seed currently. Do you see any gain by moving up, or I wouldn't say down? I don't think they can maybe make it down to the 7th seed. But if you're the Sixers, is a Sixers-Boston 6-3? Or now knowing that you can't get home court advantage, meaning to move up to the 4th spot, who's the best matchup? Sixers-Celtics, Sixers-Heat, or Sixers-Pacers?
I like that Sixers-Heat matchup. I don't know what it is about that. When I understand it's Jimmy Butler, they have a team, but I feel like the matchup serves us better. The Pacers have some size. They have some athleticism. I'm not going to say they play an up-and-down game, but their pace is a little bit different. I feel like Miami can't keep up with us in transition. They obviously got the shooters, but it's just something about Miami just feels like a more secure. Don't get me wrong. At this point, like I said before, I would like to see the Celtics, to see them get over that hump just for what morale would do around the entire organization, like knowing you can get through them Celtics. But at the same time, that first matchup, I feel like Miami would be a shorter series.
So you don't mind the possibility of Jimmy Butler getting into the heads of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid?
No, not at all. Because like I said, at some point, you can't run from it. Now, I think as much as we love Jimmy Butler, I think we've all publicly said at this point we would appreciate if he was still in the Sixers jersey. It's certain people, it's certain teams, it's certain things that you have to go through to just kind of ride. Like, I hate references. I know it's over, but when we watch The Last Dance and you hear them talk about those years where they kept coming up against those bad boys, there's something about getting that off your back. Kevin Garnett, when he's shouting, about the NBA champion, it's like having a bully on your back and then you finally beat him up. Like, it's something about overcoming certain things that just, you take another step as a player. And for this team, rather it be shutting up Jimmy Butler or getting over the Celtics, I feel like those will mean more than the Pacers.
Brett coaches the team past Miami. and Milwaukee, but then loses to Toronto. I mean, if they beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the second round, but lose to the Eastern Conference in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Raptors, do you think that that's looked at as a bad loss?
Not necessarily, but I don't think that should be a loss. I got to be honest. Good as the Toronto Raptors are, like we said it before, they had Kawhi on that team last year, and with that inexperience, obviously we had Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick, but they had Kawhi on the team, and that came down to a triple dunk. You know what I mean? So it's like, what does that tell you? That team without Kawhi is not that team. Like I said, we had Jimmy Butler, but I feel like that shouldn't be a loss. But if it is, to make it through, the teams they have to make it through, including the Bucks, to get to that point, like, I'm not saying it's something to hang your hat on. There is nothing, glorious about getting silver, but for them to make it that far, that brings momentum in the next season.
Darryl Reynolds, he's one of the hosts of the Process Podcast, talking some NBA and Sixers with us. A member of the Villanova Wildcats national championship team. We're talking hoops throughout the basketball relaunch of the season. But okay, so last year, look, I'm looking at it from this point. They go to that seventh game against Toronto. It's a quadruple doink, and maybe they win that game, maybe they don't. But is this Sixers team, better than the one that walked off the court last year?
We're about to see. Obviously, it's been up and down. I think the beauty of them having such a good home record is like, well, there is some hope because it wasn't that last year, but obviously we can't ignore the way they performed poorly on the road. But we're about to see if they're a better team. Hopefully this time off, let everybody, take a step back, kind of reassess what they got to do, let the team kind of reassess what their scheme is going to be moving forward. But like I said, at this point, I don't see them win the championship this year. That would be great. That would probably top off how strange this year has been, quite honestly. But if they do make it to that point, like, you carry that in the next season. I think at this point, the Sixers should be way more concerned about salvaging and making this season as good as it can, and then really going out and making a push next season than, just getting this over with.
Is it fair to expect Shake Milton to be good enough to start in the lineup, in the rotation? I mean, we don't really know what he is yet, and we hear Sixers conversation saying, well, maybe Shake Milton can start. Is it fair to assume that he could just be a guy that gets thrown into the lineup and dominate when it comes to playoff basketball?
I don't think it's necessarily fair, but LeBron's in Los Angeles with AD, so it's past fair at this point. Like, we got to call it what it is.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it in a lot of ways because it's kind of like extra credit for Shea Milton. If he doesn't do it, then it's just like, we didn't really expect him to be able to handle that just yet. And some people would say that's not the case, but come on, there's a lot of people really out there expecting Shea Milton to just go out and, quite frankly, do what he did a lot of this time this season. But if he does do it, then it's like, oh, yeah, we have another level. You know what I mean? We have another guy that maybe turns into what they wanted Markelle to be.
How do you, though, you have a team that had a lot of expectations. How do you go and put a guy out there who you only have about a 5-game sample size on and say, hey, we're depending on this guy to be a major part of our, how do you kind of quantify when to pull the plug on him?
I think with the Sixers at this point, I'm not saying they can't get any worse, because it obviously can, but with everything that's going on with the shaky up-down year that we just had, it's like, what do you really have to lose? You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're going to – obviously, you're starting him. You don't have anybody who's going to be that much better than him. It's not anything that you can change up at this point that would really change it with past free agency. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a whole lot they have to lose. It's pretty much the playoffs, and it's time to go. But this could be the thing that makes Shake Milton. You know what I mean? Like, he could go out and perform good enough, and this is the thing that, like I said, takes him and the team to another level. And I'm rooting for that. I'm more excited to see what happens. He goes out there and exceeds expectations, because now it's like I said, what we were missing in Markelle, maybe we get it from Shea Milton.
Do you think when they return, Al Horford comes off the bench right from the jump?
I hope so. And it's nothing against Al Horford. It's just for the sake of the pace. You know what I mean? Like a Shake Milton, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Josh Richardson, Tobias Harris. I like how that pace is. And no offense to Al Horford, but he's a half-court player at this point in his career, which is nothing wrong with that, but I would like it if he came and played in portions of the game where he kind of stretches the floor and now you got to deal with a 5-out situation or Ben Simmons going right to the rim and then playing 4 around 1.
Yeah,
I think that's a better look.
There's so much intriguing. So now that we know that they're going to be back and there's going to be, matchups, I think the next step is that you look at the Sixers with Ben Simmons coming back. Do they start Shake Milton and take Horford out of the lineup? What happens to guys like Alec Burks, Glenn Robinson III, Matisse Thybulle? You have, is there enough minutes for all these guys, or is Brett Brown back at another spot where he's like, how am I going to figure out how to work this rotation? And he only has 8 regular season games to try to figure it out.
Hey, man, that's why they get paid. Man. I ain't saying, don't get me wrong, I'll be the first one to step in front of Brett Brown when he catches slack. I love him. I love what he's doing. You know what I mean? I'm not on that whole fire Brett Brown train, but at the same time, it's like, all right, it's crunch time. You know what I mean? You got to show the people something. And I have faith that he will. You know what I mean? I have faith that he will. I think we can all imagine if anybody's minutes are going to take a cut, it's probably going to be a Burke or Robinson or somebody like that because of what they have invested in Matisse Thybulle and, quite frankly, what he's shown. But this isn't the time for experiment. This isn't the time for pleasing people. We are here trying to win. So yeah. I hope that he makes a decision and sticks with it.
Now, that's interesting, Darryl, because the Brett Brown, fire is out there. You're a guy, you played for Jay Wright. And a lot of people think, hey, the Sixers should fire Brett Brown and hire Jay Wright. So you've played for one of the best coaches in the country. But what is it about Brett Brown that you see that you like, as a guy who played for Jay Wright?
I mean, I'd like Brett Brown because, for number one, he seems to understand the game at a different level. He seems to, you look at the way he coaches his team, he seems fluid enough to let these guys grow and kind of make mistakes. I think it's something to be said about a coach kind of being like a father figure in the sense of, I'm going to let you make a mistake, I'm going to love you up and try to help you fix it after the fact, but sometimes people just got to take their bumps and bruises. And believe me, that's something I remember from Coach Wright. You know what I mean? It was sometimes it was tacked a little, I told you so after you made the mistake, but he allows them to grow. And I feel like a coach like that can grow with his team. He's already done it throughout the process and continuing to just get them where they have to go. And obviously he's on a hot seat, so I'm hoping just like Shake pulls through in this and takes it to another level, this could be the thing that either buys Brett Brown more time or solidifies him as he's the coach that's going to get us there.
All right, we will be previewing the NBA playoffs and the regular season the next couple of weeks here. Darryl Reynolds from the Process Podcast. So you can check that out with Hunter Brody. And also a member of the 2016 Villanova Wildcats. Yes, he did play for Jay Wright there. And yes, all the Brett Brown haters. He does like Brett Brown. That's unbelievable. You might not have. You might just lost a lot of fans out there if they were like, "Hey, I like this guy." We will. I'm not one of them, by the way. I'm not one of them. But we will catch up. We'll catch up with Darryl again next week, man. Take care.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yep, Darryl Reynolds, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda Hotline.